Okay. Welcome to our Backyard Brothers podcast. It is a Thursday night, February 1st. Happy February, everyone. Is it Groundhog Day that's the 2nd, or is it today?
Just thinking tomorrow.
So
and potentially the day
Groundhog
after
Day is
that,
tomorrow.
and the day after that, and the day after that.
Oh, boy. Okay. Bill Murray fans over here. So, okay, so we're going to talk a few things today. Obviously, we're talking about the AFC and NFC Championship games, and we're going to preview the Super Bowl today. I know that Super Bowl is not for 2 weeks, but I will be enjoying a vacation in Disneyland next week, and so I don't want to miss that. So we're going to do it today. These other three guys could do it next week too, depending on what news come out. But we'll see what happens in the days leading up. But anyway, before we get to all of that, we have a memory to talk about in our rotation. It's Yancey's turn. So, Yancey, lead us into what this memory is.
Wonderful. I think it was 2013 Super Bowl. It's the Har-Bowl, as some people call it, or the Blackout Bowl, as I remember it. You have the Ravens and the 49ers meeting up in the Super Bowl. Final score, I think, was 31 to what they lost by 3, right?
34-31. Yeah.
34-31. Thank you. I appreciate that, Scott. It was a really highly contested game from halftime on. Basically, the only Super Bowl I've ever watched where the lights went out, like completely for, I don't know, I think it was 10, almost 15 minutes that the lights were completely out. The game, no one's playing. They're just kind of showing players walking around in mostly the dark for whatever's lit up by generators, basically, I think. And then after halftime, the 49ers really looked like they were going to steal the momentum and come back and really win that game, except they fell just short. I think a missed field goal that they later made because there was a penalty. But then earlier in the game, they had a missed penalty, or a missed field goal, rather, that they were not able to recoup, basically. That came back to them. And I just remember thinking that was a really cool Super Bowl memory to come up with for this, being that the teams that were in the playoffs this year, and just the way that Super Bowl went. It was a really interesting storyline, being that the two brothers were coaching against each other, and it was the only Super Bowl I've ever watched where the lights went out. Like that was a crazy thing that really stuck out to me, that made me want to put that memory in for this year, or for this one.
Yeah, and it was when that power went out, it ignited the 49ers, it seemed like, when it came back off. Because I think when the power went out, I think it was like 21-3 Ravens.
Yeah,
they were leading 21-3. And I was watching it in my apartment in Provo, Utah, with my roommate, who is also a big 49ers fan. And we were hating every minute of that first quarter and a half. And then the lights went off, and then they came back on, and suddenly the 49ers were like good again. And what happened is they were down 31-23, and Kaepernick runs for a 15-yard touchdown, and they missed the 2-point conversion. So they're down by 2, and then they kick a field goal, the Ravens do, to go up by 5. And then at the very end of the game, with 4 seconds left, rather than give it back to the 49ers, the punter runs out of the back of the end zone for a safety. So yeah. So it was a great game. I mentioned last time, but the 49ers have not won a Super Bowl since I've been caring about football. I was alive, but Cody wasn't. It was 1995 that the Super Bowl, so that they last won, and so that was their first time getting back to the Super Bowl since that time. And it was they've been there twice now since then and lost both. But it was great to see them there. It was a great brother matchup, and it was a great game by all accounts. 34-31 Super Bowl. Can't ask for much better than that. But obviously disappointed in the outcome of that game, but it was a great game to watch.
Yeah, you mentioned, only Super Bowl that contained this or this. It's also exciting that it had, one of few Super Bowls that contained a safety, although there was, they took it on purpose, and also
self-inflicted.
Yeah, self-inflicted safety. One of few that contained I forget if it was a kick return or a punt return touchdown, but one of those. And I think that was a big one, 105 yards or something. A big one. And so this had a few rare things in it. It was definitely an exciting game, especially in the second half. That's all I got to add there.
I think the only other thing I want to add is that the game is not over until all numbers are zeros, and it's after fourth quarter. I think it was at one point it was even 20-6 or something like that. And at that point, I was like, "Oh, this is over. This is a lame Super Bowl." Power went out, came back on. Teams can always have resurgences. It happens all the time. The Super Bowl has no exemption to that. It's a game like any other game, so it goes down to the last second, and it was a good game. It was a fun game to watch, and I go back to that game and to Jim Harbaugh, knowing that he turned the 49ers around in like 2 or 3 years, something like that, and so that's probably exactly why the Chargers wanted him.
Who wants the Har-Bowl Part 2, Chargers versus Ravens, in a couple years? So, great memory. Yancey, are you still with us? You kind of went off camera, but so. We'll see if he rejoins. But we're going to jump over. Oh, there you are. Hi, Yancey. You kind of jumped off camera there.
Hey, everybody else froze on my screen.
You're with us now. Can you hear us all?
Yeah, everybody was freezing on mine, but I was the only one unfrozen the last, twice in the last couple minutes.
Weird. Okay. So we're going to jump into some basketball, some of our basketball minutes. There's a lot to talk about. We're not going to cover our whole show with basketball because we got important football games to talk about as well, but we did want to mention a couple of them. So first, so I'm trying to think how I want to rephrase this. Let's table two of these for another time. And talk about, first of all, the MVP race that's going on. Previously, it was including, like the two front runners were Joel Embiid and Luka Doncic, right? And by the way, Luka Doncic he won up Joel Embiid's 70-point game and had a 73-point game last week. So that's one way to show whatever you can do, I can do better, kind of a thing. But and then Joel Embiid has a knee injury now, which obviously has a big impact on not just his MVP race, but the 76ers chances and the whole Eastern Conference, the whole everything. So is Embiid out of the MVP race completely? Is this Doncic's to lose?
I think that it may be because they've enacted some rules recently about having to play a certain amount of games in a season in order to be eligible for all NBA teams, supermax contracts, MVPs, things like that. And so Embiid has to play 65 games in order to be eligible to win accolades. And so depending on how long this puts him out, it could effectively knock him out of the race, which then, Luka might be his solution with how well he's doing there. Unfortunately, I don't think the Mavs have much of a chance at a championship either, since Luka's really the only offensive weapon they have there.
Yeah,
a great weapon, but the only.
Can a guy win an MVP on a team that doesn't even make the playoffs?
I don't know if it's ever happened before. I'd have to research that, but no, I think that team success is ultimately a major factor in winning an MVP. And so if they make the playoffs, they'll best be somewhere between 5 and 8, and yeah, he could win there, but he'd be battling against some fantastic people in the West. LeBron is a perennial MVP candidate, and there's been he has 4 MVPs, but in reality, LeBron could have 12 MVPs. He's been one of the best players in the league all 21 years of his career. So,
yeah, I think all I really need to add to that is I think really in any sport. I mean, of course, I go to football, but when somebody gets injured, the likelihood of them winning an MVP or really any prestigious award for that matter drops off significantly if they're not even in that race anymore. So the fact alone that he's injured, not playing several games, I'm not sure how bad his injury is, but not playing at all right now, that takes a big shot at it. And so I would say it's definitely Luka's.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you guys. I think getting injured is really going to affect Embiid. We'll need to get a little deeper into the season to know if somebody other than Luka is going to pull out and kind of get ahead of him in the MVP race because of what their team is doing performance-wise. Need to get playoffs and how much they help them do that, especially if the Mavericks aren't going to go that deep into the playoffs, being that Luka is their only weapon that does help them in the MVP race. But I think we got to wait a little longer to see who helps their team get the deepest into the playoffs. I think that'll help affect that decision.
Yeah. I think the only other way this really affects is with the All-Star team, which I mentioned some All-Star snubs off camera in our text. And so if Embiid is unable to play in the All-Star game, which is in about 2 weeks, it'll most likely fall to Trae Young will get the All-Star spot, which he's a major snub. He's top 10 in points and assists, and then get an All-Star nod, which an interesting statistic. Sorry here, but interesting statistic. So Trae Young, he's averaging 25 and 10, and he's only one of 2 players to average 25 and 10 and not make it to the All-Star game. The other player was Trae Young 2 years ago, and so he's been snubbed twice after averaging 25 and 10.
Yeah. You wonder if a guy like Luka can win on the team that he's on. But he may be one of the only choices because Steph Curry's on a bad team too right now in Golden State. LeBron James sure could win it, but it doesn't seem like he's as much in the race anymore, even though he should be. And then you look over who's the good teams. Jason Tatum for Boston. One of the best teams in the league right there. Even Karl Anthony Towns over in Minnesota, but have they had a good enough seasons to do anything yet?
Yeah, I feel like for the MVP race that there's a narrative, and that narrative is Luka.
Great. Okay, so that's one topic we wanted to cover. Did you want to mention anything with All-Star selections? All-Star, you mentioned some snubs already, but
yeah, ultimately, I think that a lot of the right teams were a lot of right players were selected for All-Star. There's some happy choices that haven't been selected before that I'm happy about, but also some very obvious snubs such as De'Aaron Fox, Trae Young, and I forget the Lauri Markkanen are big snubs. I'm also happy to see Tyrese Halliburton be a starter. That's great. That's great for him. And then players like Tyrese Maxey and Jalen Brunson get in there.
Yeah, those are good picks. We talked about so the Oklahoma City Thunder have lost a couple of games in the last couple of weeks, but because of lateral movement, or not lateral, but vertical movements throughout the Western Conference, they suddenly were the top seed for about a day before now they're back at number 2. But with Chet Holmgren, there and everything, are the Thunder for real? Is this a team that, as young as they are, obviously they have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's as good as he is, and Chet Holmgren, who's been really, really good. Yes, Dustin, my daughter Ivy. So let me see if I can change headphones, and that might help block out noise. So, but talk about the Thunder, will you?
Talk about the Thunder, will you?
Yeah, the Thunder, top team, one of the top teams in the West, and they have been playing fantastic. They're also the second youngest team in the NBA, and Chet being added to that team, coming off of injury last year and now doing that, he's an absolute unicorn. He's 7'2" and weighs about 4 pounds, and he's just an absolute unicorn, fantastic player, and has really helped elevate that team. But the star of that team is SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's averaging 30 points and is an all-star starter and is clearly one of the best players in the league, who has been helping that team elevate. But it's been interesting to see what Chet has done since coming on this year.
And unfortunately for me, I wouldn't be able to speak intelligently enough. In fact, I don't know if I recognize a single name you just said, Dustin. So that's just to be honest. So I have heard the name Chet before, but that's all I've heard the name, and that's it. So I'm going to refrain from talking now because I already sound like an idiot.
Yeah, I guess it's in the hair or something. I also don't watch the NBA that much. You guys start playing 2K with me, I'll at least memorize some rosters. That's all I can offer right now.
We'll do that too. But Chet Holmgren, being the BYU alum that I am, and being in the West Coast Conference for lots of years, Chet Holmgren was, he was a killer.
Infuriating.
He just killed BYU. Gonzaga, great player. Just unfair. 7'1" guy that can run the floor like a point guard, and just an insane amount of talent. And he's going to win Rookie of the Year this year, even though he's technically not a rookie, because he was out all of last year. So, he and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander make that team click, and they'll be a fun team to watch come playoff time. I really think that's a fun team to watch, those Thunder. Okay, is this better, by the way? Is this?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not hearing the background noise the same way.
Okay, I guess I'll have to have half my head covered up by headphones going forward. But what was I going to say? Okay, just a quick NFL coaching update. All of the positions are filled now. In the last couple of days, the last 2 positions were filled. The Seahawks hired Ravens defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald. He becomes the youngest coach in the league. He's 36 years old, which is a year older than me. So that's what we're looking at. And the Commanders hire the Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn as their head coach. Previous to that, were there any others between this week and last week that aren't covered? I can't remember if there are or not.
I don't think so. I think those are the last 2 we were waiting on.
So does that mean Mike Vrabel doesn't have a head coaching job? He'll have to get picked up as a DC or something.
And Bill Belichick is unemployed too. So there were talks that Bill Belichick may have wanted the full control of the roster that he had in New England, wherever he went, and the Falcons were just not willing to give him that. So he walked. That's what we heard. And Mike Vrabel, he's probably going to be defensive coordinator somewhere, and So a lot of open, really talented guys that are going to be riding the maybe Bill Belichick might get on Fox Sports and be a commentator next year, which Tom Brady's going to take Greg Olson's job, which I hate because Greg Olson's my favorite commentator of all time. I think he is so good. Anyway, I hate it. But anyway, talk about head coaching vacancies, will you? Anyone?
Well,
Or head
the
coaching
only
fellow?
the only comment I have is I'm scared to see Bill Belichick as a commentator because he's notoriously silent every question anybody ever asked him. He's just kind of like, yeah.
Football. He scored. A guy was tackled. They should have tackled him when they didn't.
You just seem like, you know what, that was a really great play, Bill. Don't you think so? Yes.
Yes, of course.
That's it.
They scored.
I think really the only thing I'll add, being a Seahawks fan, I'm definitely excited for Mike McDonald. It's a big shift. 14 years with Pete Carroll, and so it's just a big shift. Let alone Pete Carroll was 36 years old when Mike McDonald was born. So, but I think that what's exciting for me, from my perspective, is having someone with I'm going to use the word pristine defensive mind. Something that's just beautiful, and that he proved. And so, I think the whole idea behind that is they want to try to find someone who can stop Kyle Shanahan, who can stop Sean McVay, and people of that like. So, we'll only time can tell what will happen.
Two quick things I want to mention. The Eagles, obviously Sirianni's job was kind of on the line. And it seems like they went to him and asked, okay, what are we going to do to fix this? And says, okay, we're going to fire both of my coordinators and hire really good guys in their position. So Kellen Moore is now the new offensive coordinator for the Eagles, and Vic Fangio is the new defensive coordinator for the Eagles. And so two really proven guys in their position, and that's the only thing that probably saved Nick Sirianni's job, is saying that, okay, I'm going to fire my two guys that we had difficulty for whatever reason down the stretch, and hire two really experienced guys in their place. So that's important. Also, with this new crop of people coming in, the Kyle Shanahan tree now has more than a quarter of the coaches in the NFL. Which is the Mike Shanahan tree, if you're a Broncos fan, by the way. So obviously same guy. I could go through them all, but that'll be a different time when we recap the season. But they're all over the place. The Kyle Shanahan tree is right next to the Andy Reid tree, which we'll talk about in a second, because Andy Reid's coaches are all over the place too. Those two guys make up literally half of the coaches in the NFL. Those two trees. So, and they're going against each other in the Super Bowl. How's that? So, let's get to the playoffs, or to the championship games here. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so this Chiefs-Ravens game, just going down here, final score is 17-10. No one got it right because we all swept the Ravens prediction here. The game was very low scoring, obviously, for these two offenses. Very defensive battle, and we'll get to the reasons why, but I'm going to stop sharing so we can see each other again. Dustin, I'm going to give you the chance to go first here, and then we'll go around that way. So give us your thoughts of what happened in this game.
I guess to start off, I think we mentioned this offline in our text group, but the Ravens completely forgot their identity after the first drive. They, as soon as Kansas City then came and scored, right away, the Ravens started to panic, and they were trying to get all the points back in one play, by trying to throw it deep and just do different things, going for it on, fourth down when it just didn't make sense to do that instead of kicking a field goal or something like that. And the Ravens just kind of forgot their identity was to run the ball, to run it hard, and that their passing game is dangerous because that's an extension of the run game with Lamar Jackson back there. And I just feel like they really forgot that, and we all mentioned that. Whereas the Chiefs have this fantastic ability to just elevate their game in important moments. That this, just like the Ravens were not the same team that they'd been all season, the Chiefs are not the same team that they had been all season. But the Chiefs are playing at a championship level better than we'd ever seen them all season, especially defensively.
Yeah, we'll just go in the rotation. So I'm next here. I completely agree. The Ravens ran the ball 6 times in that game to their running backs. 6 times. This is the team that was the number 1 rushing offense in the NFL against the Chiefs, who are the number 28 rushing defense in the NFL. How do you do that? How do you? I mean, I guess maybe you put the ball in Lamar's hands and say go win the game, but he didn't have it in that game. He didn't play well. He had 2 amazing plays in the game, sure, where he caught his own pass for a 13-yard gain, and he had another one where he got out of that sack somehow and then threw a touchdown to Zay Flowers. Like those 2 plays were amazing, but those were the only 2 good plays he had. And then that last pass that he threw across the middle into triple coverage, the worst pass I've seen in a long time, worst decision. All you need is a field goal to get into within 7 at that point, and you can't do that. You can't make that throw. And yeah, I totally agree with you, Dustin, that the Ravens lost their identity. This is a team that the way they beat the Chiefs is by running the football. What they've done all year against a team whose weakness on defense is against the run. So I don't understand it. So that's all against the Ravens, but I do have to also let me say the Ravens played really good defense. By the way, the Chiefs scored on their first 2 possessions, which really put the Ravens in a hole, and then they barely scored again. They didn't score in the second half. The Ravens shut them out the whole second half. That Ravens defense was fantastic. Seahawks are getting a good defensive coordinator there, or a good head coach. But the Chiefs defense was fantastic. Patrick Mahomes, the whole narrative of the season that the Chiefs make mistakes. They have so many penalties. They drop so many passes. They miss assignments. They miss throws. They just sloppy offense. Suddenly, when you get to the postseason, they say, "Okay, we're done. We're not going to make any more mistakes." And that's what's happening. You make mistakes against the Chiefs, you lose. That's just the way it is, because the Chiefs are not going to beat themselves.
Yeah, I think it's coming up to me now.
It's actually Yancey first. But
okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Alphabetical order.
I think I agree with most of the points that you guys made. I have to say, it can't all be on one guy, even if he's the MVP. And to only run the ball 6 times with the number 1 rushing offense just seems like a coaching error to me. Somebody made a mistake. Like they got away from what they do, and that's going to cause problems. And it did, and it showed out. They did play lights out defense in the second half, but sometimes it's just not enough. Like literally the guy caught his own pass for 13 yards. You can't expect that kind of stuff out of your quarterback and think that you're going to do well. And the Chiefs, to their credit, they pulled it out, and they played well in the spots where they needed to, and they kept the ball to themselves and didn't turn it over too much to affect themselves in a negative light. So I think credit to the Chiefs. They continue to, like you said, Scott, play error-free football in the playoffs, and sometimes that's what a championship team is made of. If you don't have the best defense or the best offense, but you play strict football, you pick it up when it counts, and you don't get stupid penalties and shoot yourself in the foot. I think that's how you get to the big games, and they're doing that right now.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I agree with all of you. I think a couple of things I want to point out, if I can get all my thoughts and words together, is I really like, Dustin, what you said, that the Chiefs have this just ability. I guess we can even call it almost like a superpower, it seems like, just to elevate their game in these important moments, in these important games. A lot of people call him Playoff Patrick because of that ability to do that. And Andy Reid is a fantastic coach, and it seems that it's the same thing. His coaching is elevated in the same kind of ability. It was just amazing to watch him come up with these play calls that for the first half of the game, the Ravens were having trouble figuring out and stopping. Second half, they were able to do that. And then I was just going off of the identity as well. You know, they definitely lost their identity. I want to credit the Chiefs defense though. I was not expecting them to be able to stop the run as well as they did. I know they only ran 6 times, but they also have Lamar Jackson who's running the ball more than just that. So I was impressed with the Chiefs defense. They were definitely elevated, played better than I thought they would, and so they showed up when it mattered.
Yeah. One thing you said, Cody, that sparked what I wanted to say as well. Steve Spagnuolo, I think, is the best defensive coordinator in the history of the NFL. He is so good at what he has done. He's won, how many Super Bowls has he won? 4 now, I think, maybe just 3. He was the one that he was a defensive coordinator of the New York Giants when they beat the undefeated Patriots in that Super Bowl in 2007. He was the one that had that game plan that just put Tom Brady under so much pressure, won the game. I think they scored 17 points, 17-13, beat the Patriots, 17-14, something like that. And then he wasn't a very good head coach, but he went to the Rams, who were horrible at the time. But since then, I think he has great game plans to completely shut down what the opposing offense does best. I can't think of a better defensive coordinator in the history of the NFL right now than Steve Spagnuolo. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again to this game, the Lions and 49ers. Skipping to this slide, 34-31 final score. Dustin, you were the only one that didn't get it right here. Cody, you got the closest margin of error score, 7 points, you guessed, while Yancey guessed a blowout and I guessed 8. So ended up being 3. I'm going to stop sharing again if I can find that. There we go. So we can talk here. And I'll go first here because I'm in the rotation as well as it's the team that I support. I think I said offline that the way that the 49ers played in the first half, they could have lost to the Panthers. They played poorly, extremely poorly in that first half. That, not taking any credit away from the Lions, because the Lions played really, really well as well in that first half. They were running like 8 yards per attempt. They were completing passes. They just kept scoring, and then it suddenly stopped. Credit to the 49ers defense for changing some things in the second half. But the way the 49ers played in the second half should scare Chiefs fans, because the way the 49ers played in the second half, they're Super Bowl champions if they play that way the whole game. And so it's a tale of 2 different halves, and it's been that way for 2 straight games, which is you can't play that way against the Chiefs. As I mentioned, you make mistakes, you lose the game against the Chiefs. So it's the way that the 49ers played this game that they've proven in back-to-back games now that they can come back from big deficits, something that they wasn't really in their wheelhouse before. So that should give them a lot of confidence heading into a Super Bowl. You're down by 10. You've proven you can come back now. And so that gives them a lot of confidence heading into a Super Bowl. I don't understand this whole topic might be for another time. I do not understand the hate that Brock Purdy gets. I don't get it. I think it's because he's Mr. Irrelevant and he's not supposed to be as good as he is. He's not supposed to lead a team to a Super Bowl at this point. But I don't understand it, because he had a bad first half. He did. He did not play well in the first half. But what it matters most is leading a team down to a drive to win the game when it matters. And that's what he's done 2 weeks in a row now on those final 2 possessions of a game. And if he can do that, every great quarterback has had great supporting casts. I don't understand why it has to be different with Brock Purdy. So that's what I'll say there. Yeah, I have more to say when we get to the preview for the Super Bowl, but that's what I'll stop that there. So.
You ever buy a car and then you see that car everywhere, Scott? It's because
Uh-huh.
he's your favorite quarterback right now that you feel all that like extra like heat on him, I would guess. But a lot of people, I think, they think he's midline, like a middle of the lane quarterback with a lot of good weapons. Um, and I think he's pretty good. I don't think he's great yet, but it's early in his career. Um, Now with the game itself, I think we were saying before Cody was talking about how they have Barry Sanders 2.0, and we saw a lot of that in the first half. San Francisco was struggling to stop the run. They couldn't get that guy on the ground. But they did show up in the second half. It's not over till the zeros hit the clock. So I got to agree there with what you were saying that the team you want a consistent team. So I think it is troubling that the 49ers have been kind of wishy-washy. You don't know which version of them is going to show up in which quarter. And that causes, fans some trouble. When you're watching them play, you want to know how they're going to play. That being said, they showed up well enough to win that game in the second half. But you gotta hope that doesn't carry over against the Chiefs, because the Chiefs are really good at capitalizing on mistakes. I don't necessarily like the Chiefs, but they are a good football team. They're well put together. They're well coached by Andy Reid, and if you play lackadaisical in the first half against them, they might just put you all the way out.
Yeah, I agree with you, Yancey. So I guess first going off with Brock Purdy, I've been impressed with Brock Purdy since I think it was last year. Last year was his rookie year, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. I remember when the day I realized I was impressed with him was actually when they had played the Seahawks last year, and he just played as if he was a 12-year vet. It was really impressive, and ever since it's been impressive. So I'm right there with you, Scott. I'm not sure what people are seeing, or if they just want to refuse to believe. I don't know, but he is good, and he has the cast around him. With that being said, in the game, I was so impressed with the Lions' ability to stop the run. That was extremely impressive. Um, the reason why I thought the 49ers were going to win was because McCaffrey was going to run all around him.
Mhm.
That wasn't the reason why. So that was really impressive. I was really, really impressed with that. Offline, right after the game, I sent a text. Absolutely, just I did not understand why the. You can insert a cuss word. Why the bleep? Uh, Dan Campbell would not just kick a field goal, tie the game up. A couple days go by, and I kind of had some time to think about it and reflect on it, and I realized I cannot be mad that they lost the same way on how they got there. They are that's Dan Campbell's culture, his philosophy. He's aggressive. That's who he is, and that's how they got to this or got to the NFC Championship, is being that aggressive. And on that time, they just got unlucky. They missed it. That happens. I saw that he had said that he didn't regret it. I can understand what he's saying now, because obviously in hindsight, had you made it, they probably would have won that game. But you can't be mad at them for doing what they've been doing all year. You can't be mad for them, doing what they did to get there, and that's kind of what I realized. So kudos to the Lions for playing a heck of a game. They played well enough to win. And they just fell short one spot, and that's just the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, Cody, I haven't come full circle yet on that thought. I'm still thinking, why wouldn't you kick a field goal? That's where I see you're down by 3 with a few minutes left, and you have the opportunity to play defense against the clock, where you can say, okay, I can tie up the game and then trust my defense to get me the ball back. And by going for it, when you have the opportunity to set up an overtime, do something like that, not only are you telling your defense you don't trust them, But it's a huge gamble because you're putting the whole game in the hands of your kicker with 5 minutes left on the clock. It's like, that's too much time. There's too much time there. And so it's sorry, I said it wrong. You're putting the whole game in the hands of this one play quarterback on 4th and 3 when there's 5 minutes left. There's a lot of game left to be played. And instead, if you can just say, hey, let me chalk this up 0-0, and then we play a quick 5-minute game and figure it out from here. And so it's aggression, and I understand that. But what I would say it was panic, that he was down and he didn't know what to do. And all of us have been there playing Madden where you're mad because it's 4th and 11 and it's stupid. You're like, I'm going for it. Fake punt. All of us have done that. Don't deny it. All of us have gone for it. I'm like 4th and 11, fake punt pass. And all of us, whenever it doesn't work, say, man, why did I do that? That was dumb. And that's exactly how I feel Dan Campbell is probably feeling, is I should have kicked that field goal and tied it up and let the game play out. And that's how I felt about it, is it was total panic. It was a lack of poise and unfortunately he lost. And I hope that they can get back, and I hope that the experience will teach them and get them back, and that he'll be able to say, okay, there's a time to win the game and there's a time to not lose the game. And right there, he chose to try. You got to choose to not lose the game.
So a couple of things. I realized I didn't talk a lot about the Lions at all when I was talking. So I agree with Cody in this, that if you like what Dan Campbell did when it won you the game, you have to be okay with it when it loses you the game.
Yeah.
And so I agree with it there. And also looking at Michael Badgley, the Lions kicker, who's to say that he makes that field goal? Like, if you miss that field goal, it's a 46-yard field goal or something. And looking at Badgley's career from 40 to 50 yards, he's only about a 75% kicker from that range. And so it's not guaranteed he makes that kick either. And you're in maybe even a worse spot than you were if you tried to just go for it. So
yeah,
I mean, I understand
statistics is significantly better than the statistics of making a 4th and 3.
Sure,
It's
yeah,
twice
but
that, double that.
I mean, you look at the missed, or the missed opportunity there. The 49ers still scored a touchdown on that next drive anyway, and it could have been the same if they kicked a field goal. So I mean, you got to look at it all. The biggest play that the Lions missed was the fumble by Jahmyr Gibbs down at the goal line. That was the big play that turned everything, not a missed field goal or a missed conversion. But I mean, I understand it all, and I understand both sides of it, and wanting to kick a field goal to tie it or whatever. And so it's going to be talked about through the offseason as well. The Lions have a young team. They have a great team. They'll be back, I think. So. Okay, let's talk about the Super Bowl. Okay. Before we do that, looking at the ongoing predictions results, I am far and away leading. I'm at 9-3. Both Dustin and Yancey are at 6-6, 500 each, but Dustin has 4 of the closest scores while Yancey has 2. Cody, you're still below 500 here, 5-7. So yeah.
We're gold digger there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Super Bowl time. Chiefs against the 49ers on CBS, where Tony Romo's going to annoy the hell out of everybody. Okay. So the Chiefs are playing in their 4th Super Bowl in the last 5 years. They've been here. They've proven it. I was talking to a Patriots fan yesterday, and she said, yeah, after about 5 Super Bowls, it started to get old, even for me. And so I don't know if that's true for Chiefs fans, but they're the new Chiefs, or the new Patriots, right? As far as a dynasty goes. So this is also a rematch of the 2019 Super Bowl between the Chiefs and Niners. The 49ers had a double-digit lead in that game, and then the Chiefs came back and won it 31-20. Meanwhile, the 49ers have not won a Super Bowl since the 1994 season. They've lost their last two chances in 2012 against the Ravens, which we talked about earlier, and in 2019 against the Chiefs here. They've also had two straight comeback wins in the postseason. So looking at when the 49ers are on offense, Brock Purdy, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle, that's their, and Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey. Those five guys are your main guys on offense. McCaffrey leads the NFL in touchdowns scored by like 5 touchdowns. He scores everywhere. Meanwhile, the Chiefs defense have proven they can play against anybody. They can shut down a lot of stuff. L'Jarius Sneed will go against either Ayuk or Samuel, George Karlaftis, Chris Jones, and then these linebackers and safeties, and Charles Omena, who actually got hurt in this last game. So I should have remembered that. He's out. He will not play in that game. But Nick Bolton and Justin Reed there. Meanwhile, when the Chiefs are on offense, Patrick Mahomes, 30 of 39, sounds really good, but only for 241 yards. It was like only 6.5 yards per attempt. It was really, really short passing. But Travis Kelce caught 116 of those yards for the touchdown, and Rashee Rice caught another 46. So those two combined had 162 of those 241 yards. So those are the two guys that Patrick Mahomes is going to throw to. Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Charvarius Ward, who, by the way, was on the Chiefs when the Chiefs beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl. So he's going against his former team here, the Charvarius Ward. Isaiah Pacheco on that offensive line against Dre Greenlaw, Javon Kinlaw. Joe Thuney missed that AFC Championship game. He will also not play in the Super Bowl. He's already been ruled out for that. With him out, Patrick Mahomes was sacked twice. First time he's been sacked in the playoffs since early last postseason. So that could play a part with Nick Bosa on the other side. So with that in mind, I went first. So Yancey, you get to go first here on your analysis and prediction.
Wonderful. I think this is going to be a really good game, or the Chiefs are going to blow the 49ers out. That's just kind of how I see it going. There's not really a game plan or an avenue that I see the 49ers really just running away with this game, even though looking at them on paper, like stats and who all's performed well, I would normally assume that the 49ers would perform well in this game. But seeing what I've seen out of the Chiefs recently, and just the way Mahomes plays in the playoffs, I don't think that the 49ers are going to get it done. I think they have the team to get it done, but I don't believe they will. And I think that the Chiefs come away with this game 28-21. I think it's going to be kind of the thing where the 49ers don't really show up enough in the first half, and then they end up not doing enough in the second half to climb out of the hole that they put themselves in. They may not even get 14 of those 21 points until the second half, in my opinion. And I think that that's going to be what causes them the trouble, and that's why I go with KC in this game.
Okay. Cody?
So, yeah, there's definitely some things I agree with you on. There's definitely some things I disagree with you on. I think that either team has the potential just to run away with it. However, I think that whoever team is losing by halftime is going to be able to start kind of coming back. So I think at the end of it, it's going to be a close game no matter who was out in the lead by halftime. It's going to be it's going to be just punch in the face both ways. I do think that this will be the first win for the 49ers in a long time. They will get their Super Bowl win here, and it is going to be a tough one. What's that score going to be? It's going to be 49ers 24-20.
Okay. And before we get to you, Dustin, Cody, I mentioned way back last week what's going to happen when the 49ers play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, based on who you're cheering for. And you said, well, we'll see if we ever get there. Well, we're there. Who are you cheering for?
Yep. At this point, I have to cheer for the 49ers, as gross as that is. I'm sick and tired of the Chiefs. The Chiefs
Okay.
are the enemy now. So,
Okay.
I'll have a barf bag with me every time I say go 49ers, but that's what I have to say.
Yeah. Okay. Dustin.
Yeah, I've picked against the Chiefs, I think, every game this postseason, just because I know I've watched them all season, and I knew this is not the same Chiefs team that we were used to seeing the last 5 years. And then this postseason, they've said, yes, we are, and they've really come back. And so in this one, I've got to flip it and predict a Chiefs win. That they are the team that they have been the last 5 years. They're absolutely the best team in the postseason, and they have the ability to elevate themselves, like I've mentioned. So Chiefs win. I think basically it's fairly close through the third quarter, and Chiefs have a touchdown lead in the fourth quarter, and 49ers start to panic, have a late turnover, and it leads to a late touchdown for the Chiefs. Touchdown by the Chiefs to elevate it to say 30-17. Chiefs win.
Okay.
Off of a late touchdown.
So I'm trying to think where to start here. The Ravens' issues of not running the ball will not be shared by the 49ers. The 49ers are going to run the hell out of the ball in this game, because that's what they do. It's what they do really well, and they have extensions of the run game that's different from any team that the Chiefs have really been able to go against full strength. So the Dolphins, the team they played in the wild card round, have the same kind of offense because it comes from the Shanahan tree. Obviously, they weren't at full strength in that game, but the same applies. The same way that the Chiefs are going to try to defend the 49ers, they're going to try to defend, or the way they defended the Dolphins, they'll try to defend the 49ers because it's the same offense. And I think some of that is going to work. Like I said, I think Spagnuolo is a really great defensive coach, and I think he's going to take away what the 49ers do best. I think they're going to stack the box. I think they're going to make sure that Christian McCaffrey can't run up the middle, can't run along the sides, and they're going to have to use their receivers like Deebo Samuel coming along. They're going to try to take away Christian McCaffrey, pure and simple. How much that works is anyone's guess, because McCaffrey's as good as he is. But they're going to force Brock Purdy to try to win the game, because that's what you do. You try to go for the somewhat unproven guy. And I think this game is going to be a lot more defensively than I'm more along the lines of Cody as far as defensive scores go here. I think both defenses are going to be really good in this game. I think the game plan for the 49ers defense is to get after Mahomes as much as possible. You're going to, off of Nick Bosa, bring a couple edge rushers in that way and try to really get him off his spot. And that's going to work to a certain extent as well. But anyway, I'm not picking against the 49ers. So let me just put that there. I think there are very easy ways in which the Chiefs win this game. If the 49ers have a turnover, I think the Chiefs win this game. The only way that the 49ers win is if they force a turnover from a receiver who caught the ball, and knock the ball out of a receiver's hands while he's running the ball, or out of Pacheco's hands, and not turn over the ball yourself. And so that's what I'm predicting is going to happen here. It's going to be a defensive battle that comes down to the last possession of the game. And so I'm picking a sorry, I'm now rethinking my whole score here. Sorry. I'm picking a 27-24 final. Okay. So that's what this looks like. we got 2 weeks almost before this game, and so next week and in the next few days, we'll see what other storylines come out of this, and if we want to talk about that online next week in some way, or leave it up for what happens on February 11th. So, any last comments from anybody?
I think we're all good.
Go Chiefs.
Dustin.
All right. See you, everyone.
All right, guys.